Hi, and welcome to Stressed, the podcast to develop your stress resilience. Being ambitious and successful while living a happy life is possible. Learn how you can better cope with stress in day-to-day situations by applying tools and techniques that work for you. My name is Julia Arndt, and I'm extremely grateful that you decided to check out my podcast today. Let's get started. Hi, and welcome back to Stressed, the podcast to develop your stress resilience. My name is Julia Arndt, and I'm super excited and, as always, really grateful that you have decided to spend a little bit of time with me today to learn about how you can use forgiveness as a tool to manage stress. And the first question that you might ask yourself reading about this topic is, what has forgiveness to do with managing stress? And I'm going to give you a couple of insights into what has forgiveness to do with stress management. I'm sure that all of you have a situation in your life, you have an experience in your life that is feeling unfair, that is feeling really hurtful, that is feeling really sad. And those feelings are oftentimes stuck with us. We are thinking about this experience maybe over and over and over again, or we are projecting those fears and those experiences and those feelings into the present or into the future moment. And when we are doing that, we are creating negative feelings, the feelings that we have that we associate with that experience, that are creating stress in our lives. They are creating negative thoughts, and those negative thoughts create negative emotions, and they sometimes even create negative behaviors or behaviors that we don't really like about ourselves, and yet we kind of do them because of all of these kind of patterns and things and triggers that are happening in our lives. So, very simple, we are having these negative emotions, and negative thoughts create stress. They create these thought patterns in our head that we can't let go of. And just imagine the time and energy alone that you're spending on going over these thoughts and feelings over and over and over again is a lot, right? How much time and energy do you spend on thinking about that situation? And thinking how unfair it was, and thinking how hurt you were, and thinking how scared you are that this is going to happen to you again. And so that creates a lot of stress in our lives. And so that is exactly the reason of why I want to bring you a little bit closer to the idea that if you start practicing forgiveness for the things that have happened in your life, you will be able to manage stress. You will have more time and energy to focus on other things, and you will have more time and energy to create an empowered life for yourself. All of us have experienced difficult moments in our life. All of us. We have maybe parents that have been fighting since we were little. Maybe we were abused in our childhood. Maybe we have had multiple partners that have cheated on us. There are different things that happen in our life that feel unfair and that were unfair and that were not supposed to happen to you. But the most important thing when we're talking about forgiveness is that we realize that forgiveness is that we realize that that experience lies in the past. This has happened to you, and it was unfair, and it was shitty, and it is still hurting today just thinking about it. But it is in the past. It is nothing that you can change anymore. But what you have to realize is that if you are staying stuck with those feelings, if you continue to identify yourself with that situation, you are staying a victim. You are staying a victim of your past. But the powerful thing is that you have the power to choose to stay with that situation. If you decide to stay with that feeling, to identify with that situation, you bring it back into the present moment. And that is the biggest problem that we can make. Because if we don't realize that we have the power over our thoughts, that we have the power about how we are choosing to live today, and when you realize that, you can maybe not change what happened to you in the past, but you can change how you react to it. You can change your perspective and you can change your reaction to it. So you can move from being a victim in the past to being an empowered human being in the present moment, and to let go of the things that happen to you, because you cannot change them anymore. This is so important for you to realize. You cannot change it anymore. But if you decide to bring it back into today, you decide to stay identified with that past, and you decide to stay in the past and to live in the past and to have all of these thoughts and feelings from the past that are maybe creating even a self-fulfilled prophecy, because maybe you are having so many fears and so many actions or reactions in, for example, your relationship with your other partner, that you're bringing that back into your life. How often have you heard people say, I am always choosing partners that are drinking. I'm always choosing partners that are cheating on me. All of these different things are things that we create in our lives. I know this is really hard to hear, and maybe right now you're thinking I'm absolutely crazy. But if you really connect with that, if you really connect with that message, and you think about it, and you think about the actions and the behaviors that you have put into place in order to protect yourself, that this is not happening to you again, then maybe you realize that you have brought in some of the things that happened to your life again and again because you were not able to let go of the past, and you were not able to let go of the fears and behaviors that have brought you into that situation again. Only if you choose to move forward, truly forgive, not just that person that has done something to you, but to forgive yourself that you have experienced this situation, then you can move forward in your life. And that is extremely important. A couple of things that I want you to take away from today's podcast episode, and a couple of steps that you can start to do in order to practice forgiveness, are the following. First of all, it's always about awareness. You have to be aware of what is going on. You have to be aware of your thoughts and feelings. You have to maybe create awareness that there is something that you haven't forgiven, that there's a person out there that you're still holding a grudge against, maybe 20 years later, because you feel that it's been so unfair that this situation happened to you. Realize that. This is the first most important thing. And then realize how your behaviors and actions have helped you today to protect you of what happened to you in the past. It is a protection mechanism. You're doing something because you're really scared that this is happening to you again. And I totally understand it. I have been there. I've been there over and over again. I've been holding a grudge against my parents because they've been fighting for 15 years of my life, 15 years of my childhood. I grew up with parents that were screaming at each other because they were in a relationship that didn't make either of them happy. And I've been holding a grudge against them because they didn't have enough attention for me. They didn't show me the love maybe that I needed. And they didn't show me how to live a powerful, loving relationship. But it is not the fault of my parents. They are also just human beings, and they've been trying to do their best, and they've been trying to create a happy life for themselves. For them, the result was, or for them, the solution was to split up and to get divorced. And I see them today, and they're both living a much happier life. And yes, it had an impact on me, but they didn't do that on purpose. They didn't know what kind of impact that had on their child. They didn't know any better. If they would have known, they would have most likely done something very different. So I want you to kind of think about the situation and create a little bit of compassion as well for the other people that have maybe done something wrong to you. Create a little bit of compassion. Create compassion for yourself, of your protection mechanism, of your fears that have protected you over the last couple of years, over your lifetime, because you have experienced something that was extremely hurtful and extremely sad and disappointing. But don't choose to stay there. Choose to not be the victim anymore. Choose that you want to step into your power and that you want to let go of the past. Only if you really do that, like really 100%, you need to believe it. And this is a practice. It might not happen overnight because for 10, 20 years you have been holding a grudge. So this is work. This is something that you have to work on. But if you understand that, you can create a powerful life for yourself. Forgiveness is extremely important in my eyes in stress management, because we are not only holding a grudge against other people, but sometimes subconsciously we are projecting our fears into relationships we have with other people, relationships with people at work, relationships with people in our personal surroundings. And because we are afraid and because we had a shitty experience, we kind of project that to other people. And we are creating new problems because of that, because we have not learned to forgive. And forgiving doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean that you have to forget what happened to you. It is part of you. Create wisdom around that. You have had this experience. And if you wouldn't have had this experience, you would probably not be an expert today in certain things. I wouldn't be an expert in stress management if I would not have gone through a burnout and anxiety. I would not have had this experience. I wouldn't be sitting here right now because I would maybe not care. Maybe I wouldn't still know how to manage my own stress. But I learned that and I moved on from that. Yes, I had difficult parents, not because my parents were difficult with me, but because I saw them fighting with each other and being not really fair with each other. And that has hurt me a lot as a child. I didn't realize that for a really long time, but it did. It has a strong influence on children of how their parents behave in front of them. But I cannot change that. The only power and the only thing I can change is my attitude towards it. I can change, I can choose to forgive, and I can choose to move on. I can accept that this was a powerful experience in my life that has given me a lot of different learnings, and I can use those learnings to bring into my new life without holding grudges and without fears and without negative emotions and feelings and all the different things. And I can choose to empower myself. And one of the things you can do in order to practice forgiveness is to sit down now, take a piece of paper and a pen, and write down all of the people that you need to forgive. Everyone. Think about everyone that you feel like you're holding a grudge against. Maybe it's a family member. Maybe it's a teacher at school that did something to you that has felt really painful. Maybe it is a manager or a colleague at work that has said something to you or done something to you that has felt extremely hurtful, that has disappointed you or that has made you feel really sad. Maybe it's a friend. I want you to think about everyone that you need to practice forgiveness with. So write this on the one side of the piece of paper. And then I want you to think about the people that you have wronged in your life, that maybe feel the same way about you that you feel about those people that you have just written down on the left-hand side of your piece of paper. Because guess what? We are all not perfect human beings. We all have something in our lives that we weren't maybe really good at doing. Do we want these other people to still hold a grudge against us when we really truly believe that we haven't done it on purpose and that we feel really sorry? No, we want people to forgive us and to let us go and to be friends with us again or to just be normal with us again. So write down a list of people that you are thinking of right now, or that maybe you need a little bit of time to think of right now, that you have wronged and that you have hurt in your life and that you have disappointed, that you have made sad. because we are not perfect, and there's always, like, people are doing things to us that feel not great, and then there's also people that we have hurt in our lifetime. That's just what life is. So now that you have this piece of paper, I want you to put a line underneath the 2 lists that you have just written down. And I want you to write down, I forgive you. I forgive me, and I forgive what happened to me. I choose to no longer be the victim, and I choose to empower myself. And I love myself, and I love all of the other people, even though they have wronged me. I understand that we are all not perfect human beings, and that some difficult things have happened to all of us in our lives, and that I choose to move on from that. And then there's a couple of different things that you can do with this list. You can burn it. Some people like to do that. You can just put it in, maybe you can tear it apart and you throw it away. You can also take this list maybe to a special place and leave it there, or burn it, or do something with it. You can also practice forgiveness by, for example, taking a walk and thinking really about this person and connecting with what happened to you. Maybe be sad one last time about what happened to you, and just connect with those feelings and how difficult it was for you. It is totally okay. We are all experiencing that. But what I have learned in my life is that holding a grudge and not practicing forgiveness does not bring me forward. I can only live a happy and fulfilled life if I choose to forgive other people and to forgive myself, maybe for staying on that path for such a long period of time, and move into my power. Because that's what we need to do, all of us. And sometimes practicing forgiveness takes a little bit of time, as I said. If it's been a long time that something has happened to you, it probably is not going to be done in a day. You probably need to process that, and you need to practice forgiveness over and over and over again. And you could, for example, create a little quote on your phone that says, "Before the sun goes down, I forgive." This is really powerful, and it is a really good reminder that we are not holding anyone in prison. We are our own prisoners if we are holding ourselves in that cage and in that victim role of something that has happened to us. So I really hope this podcast episode was really powerful for you. I hope that you're taking something away from this. I hope that you're thinking about maybe a situation that has felt really unfair and that has hurt you in the past. And I hope you understand that only if you forgive your past and you accept your past for what it is, you can move into your true power in the present moment. It is so, so important. Thank you so much for listening today. If you have any thoughts or anything that is coming up for you right now, I would love to hear from you. You can email me. You can come over to Instagram to my post and leave me a comment on how you are practicing forgiveness, of what you are doing, what you are choosing in order to live a really happy and empowered life. Or leave me a comment here on my YouTube channel and let me know the same thing. Thank you so much for being here today. Thank you for listening. With gratitude, Julia.
If you enjoyed this episode, I would be extremely happy and grateful if you could leave me a comment and a 5-star rating. If you know someone who would benefit from the information I talked about today, please feel free to share it with them, no matter if it is your friends, your colleagues, and/or your family members. You will always find all links and a summary of the podcast in the show notes. It would be great if we could connect on Instagram or via email. You can find all details of how to find me in the show notes as well. In that way, you can also send me any questions that you might have. And as I mentioned, I also have a wonderful YouTube channel now where you can post comments and questions, so please reach out. I'm glad you're listening to this podcast. Thank you so much for your trust. With gratitude, Julia.